Whether we like to recognize it or not, we as audiences have a tremendous amount of power over what gets made. Ahoy there, Internet! It's time to sit down, put in those earbuds so as not to disturb the neighbors, and join me for another episode of Off Book, a podcast where I talk all about Broadway, movies, TV shows, and anything else I want to geek out about. I'm Marc Stoufer III, and today I'm flying solo because Ashley is busy. Today I'm going to be talking about Broadway adaptations. There have been a lot of adaptations on Broadway in recent years. So it's an adaptation of a movie like Frozen, Beetlejuice, or Mean Girls, a book like To Kill a Mockingbird, of another show, usually an opera like Rent or Miss Saigon, or even off of history like Hamilton, which for today's purposes is going to count as an adaptation. And then there are also revivals that bring the show back and perform it again. There's a huge discussion about adaptations and what makes a good adaptation. And I think in the end what it comes down to is ingenuity. I think you need to have a creative team that is willing to put in the work to figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work on Broadway, and then really create a show that has its own identity. Because if you just try to take a movie or a book and put it on stage, it's not going to work. I think you need to be able to look at, okay, what is going to work, what isn't going to work, and what do we need to change or add in order to make this show work on stage. There really isn't a formula for a good adaptation. I mean, if you look at something like Frozen, it seems to follow pretty accurately what happens in the movie. But if you look at something like Beetlejuice, it is nothing at all like its movie. But they both did pretty well. You could say that it just needs to be a lucrative property. But then if you look at something like Rent, which did very well, I don't think that there were a ton of people who have heard of the opera that Rent is based on. So the question then becomes, what you need to do in order to make a good adaptation. And I think that's what brings us back to ingenuity. Is the common thread between all of these is they're taking something and this creative team, this cast is looking at it in a new way. Whatever it is, they're seeing what they think will work and what won't. And they're not just saying, we're going to put this on stage. They're saying sometimes we're going to take direct lines of dialogue from the original. Sometimes we're going to change integral parts of the story like they did with Beetlejuice. But we're going to do whatever we need to do in order to make it work. It's interesting to look at a show like Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. Most people either don't know about that show or don't like it. The show has a very interesting history, probably worth its own episode. Let us know in the comment section below if that's something you want to hear. But basically, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark was a Broadway musical based on Spider-Man. And on paper, it looked like a great adaptation. It had Spider-Man, who everybody loved. It had the potential for stunts. And although it didn't seem like musical material at first, if you think about it, you have a character arc, you have a love interest, you have this kind of adversity the hero has to overcome. He's a high schooler, which is kind of a typical musical theater protagonist. You have this Uncle Ben situation. It really could work in musical format. But somewhere along the way, the creative team tried to embellish too much. They almost tried to change Spider-Man more than they needed to in order to make a statement. And in doing so, made it show that the people that liked Spider-Man didn't like. The people that didn't like Spider-Man didn't go see. And the people that didn't have any particular preference didn't like, because it wasn't good. Eventually, they closed the show temporarily to do some rewrites, and when they opened back up, it still didn't do well, because it was still the show that was trying too hard to be a quote-unquote adaptation, instead of just saying, how can we move this into a new format? And so I think that's what brings it back to the idea of ingenuity. You need to not only have ingenuity to know what you can keep and not, but also, how do we make this a good adaptation? not by trying to change everything or change nothing, but by trying to do whatever we need to do in order to make a good show. And now it's time to hear from our sponsor. Today's episode is sponsored by me. For those of you that don't know, my life is very, very interesting, and I've turned it into a musical I'd like to get on Broadway, including songs like Cereal for Breakfast, I Don't Like Walking to School, and Can I Eat Some Ramen Noodles. It's going to be the greatest musical ever, even if you don't like adaptations. Unfortunately, it costs a lot of money to get a show off the ground, so I've set up a Kickstarter page if you want to help support me in the development of this show. Additionally, if you donate $2 million or more, you'll get 2 free tickets to opening night of the show, as well as an exclusive listen to the first song in the show. But for all you podcast listeners, I have the first 22 seconds right now. Take a listen. I wake up and I check my phone. It's social media, and it's there. I ask my dad how he is. He says, fine. I walk downstairs. As a reminder, you can hear the full song and get 2 tickets to opening night if you donate $2 million or more. I'll link the Kickstarter page down below. And now, back to the main program. There's a huge conversation about Broadway adaptations versus original shows, and I think there's kind of this outcry of
Broadway needs to be more original. We need to have more original shows.
And I think it's less common to talk about why Broadway adaptations happen in the first place. Why are so many shows based on something else? Is it because there's a built-in fan base? Well, maybe. But like I mentioned with Spider-Man, a built-in fan base can't save the show. Is it because it's easier to convince people to join the project? Hey, I'm working on a Broadway adaptation of Mean Girls. Do you want to help? Is a little bit better of a pitch than, hey, I'm writing a completely original musical with characters you've never heard of before that may or may not do well. Maybe. Is it because it's just easier to adapt a work that already exists and have kind of a starting point than have to come up with everything yourself? Maybe. But I think all of those pale in comparison to the biggest reason that they exist, and that's what people are going to see. Whether we like to recognize it or not, we as audiences have a tremendous amount of power over what gets made, because Broadway will keep making what we go support, whether that's through buying merchandise, streaming the cast album, going to see the show either on Broadway or on tours. Broadway producers are seeing, hey, people are going to see this adaptation, and with good reason. I'd be lying if I don't want to see pretty much every single movie franchise I like on Broadway. I would love to see a Marvel musical that does well, or a Star Wars musical. And if it's awful, I don't want to see it, but if they can find a way to do it, I would love to see how that works. I think that Broadway has the ability to turn non-musical things into musicals like Beetlejuice. I mean, if you told me before Beetlejuice opened that they were turning Beetlejuice into a musical, I wouldn't think it would have done well, but it did. And I think that potential to continue to do new and innovative things is what continues that adaptation spirit, and that spirit is what gets people to go see them. And as long as we go see them, they're going to keep making them. So then the question is, will theater ever become more original? Will there ever be an equal ratio of original shows and adaptations of other works? And I think the answer is, yeah, but only if we go see original shows. Not that there's anything wrong with seeing your favorite movie or book put on stage, but you also have to be willing to take a chance on this show that seems a little bit weird. You have to give the cast album a try. You have to go see that show if you're able. You have to recommend that show to your friends, because Broadway shows can't survive unless you give it money in some way, shape, or form. You being the collective audience, not necessarily you specifically, but I think that Broadway producers will make the shows that people want to support. And there doesn't seem to be a problem with people supporting the Broadway musical version of their favorite franchise. So then the question becomes, will you also support an original musical by a composer that you don't know? Because if the answer is yes, then there will be more original shows. But if the answer is no, then Broadway will continue to be led mostly by adaptations. Anyway, that's this week's episode. Thanks for listening to my rant. Be sure to tune in next week when Ashley will be back and we'll be talking about movies and TV shows based on Broadway shows, so basically just the opposite of today's episode. Till then, keep geeking out about literally everything. See you then.